What's going on, everybody? You've got the card board coach here with your boy, Coach Co. And today we got a very special guest on the podcast here. We've got Karn from Slab Sharks. Why did I say Slab Sharks? How are you doing today, man? Almost butchered that.
Doing great, Coach Co. How's it going? I think I'm gonna have to start using those weights behind you and work out this winter, man. You're already influencing me here with that background.
Oh, good, man. How are you doing today?
Good.
It's shipping day for you guys.
Shipping day, Mondays, man. Our auctions they end on Thursdays. They start on Thursdays, end on Thursdays. So we get a few days for our buyers to pay. And then Monday, Tuesday, grinding all day to get the packages out. Sometimes, 600, 700, 800 packages in 1-2 day shot. So it's a grind, but we get it done.
That's wild. Talk to me. What is it like managing, essentially an auction house on eBay, right? Like that's what you guys are to a certain extent.
Yeah, look, it's a lot of fun. We get to see a lot of cool cards. We meet a lot of cool people. We actually have drop-offs in person available. So you book an appointment on our website and you walk in, you can drop off cards. So it's fun interacting with the guys that are consigning the cards in our auction house, and you get to see some cool cards. But there's also a lot of work to it as well when you're dealing with 1,000, 1,200 cards per week. There's a lot of moving parts to it. And sometimes it's on an outsider view, it's like all you're doing is taking pictures, listing cards, but it's not as simple as that. You have to skew each card. You got to make sure the scans match the skews, make sure the photos and the listings and the titles are correct, and you're going through all of this process within a 24-hour to 48-hour span. So it's a lot of grind and a lot of diligence, and but we have a lot of fun with it. It's great.
Do you guys do like eBay promotions? Like, do you promote your listings, or is it like strictly based on like the followers that you've amassed? And
so we are actually in partnership with eBay. So what that gives us is the kind of organic ability to be promoted on every listing that we have. I don't know if you ever noticed, if you go on ebay.ca on Thursdays, we're actually the first company to have our logo on ebay.ca. So you actually see the Slab Sharks brand on the head banner on ebay.ca. You also see our badge anytime you're looking at our listings. If you're searching for, say, McDavid Young Guns, and you'll scroll through the listings, you'll actually see a Slab Sharks badge on one that is ours. So those are the ways eBay helps promote us, and all of our listings are actually organically promoted by eBay as well. But we do further promotion. We actually also pay for promotion on the cards as well. So yeah,
that's
it's great.
I mean, that's pretty wild, and definitely, advantageous for anyone that's submitting through you guys. Talk to me a little bit about that process. So you guys are a fairly new company, correct?
Yep.
You guys are 2 or 3 years?
Oh, less than that.
Really?
Yeah. We started
Right.
our first official kind of day, and where we say we actually started this business was the last Edmonton Expo, which was, I believe, May of last year. So
Yeah,
we're
so like 10 months ago.
like
Just over a year.
like 14 months in, 15
Okay.
months in. And as a Slab Sharks brand on eBay, we're only since January 1st, 2023. So
Wow.
it's been a short time span, but I feel like we've done a lot of things correctly so far, and we're growing the brand pretty quickly. So it's been fun.
So how do you go from opening up shop beginning of 2023 to now partnered with eBay, featured on their explore page, like all these benefits that come with, essentially the brand that you guys have created?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things to it. I think it helps having personal relationships. I've been in this hobby for quite some time, as a dealer and a buyer and seller of high-end cards and singles. I've been at the expo since 2015, setting up, and I've been at the national since 2017. So those relationship building definitely helps get you through the door. And I think with this business, we did a lot of things that weren't profit driven and more driven by passion and trying to build this business. And sometimes that means not making any money for a while. We still aren't. And I think what we do is we reinvest in marketing and our processes and just building the business as fast as you can at a steady pace where we can handle it. And yeah, I think just doing all those things and reinvesting and creating those relationships really helped us get to where we are today.
Yeah, I can definitely say from personal experience, one of the coolest things, like I've purchased from you guys previously through eBay, we won one of your auctions, and one of the things I found was like a fantastic touch was the little, like the slab sharks. It's upside down. It's upside down right there. It's like the little coffin. You know, I call it a coffin, but it's probably a negative connotation there. But the holder for the slabs, and you know, just like a little touch like that, it just goes a long way. Like so much so that I actually saved it. Like I got this thing probably like, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. And I was like, I could probably reuse this. I feel like there was a lot of, you know, time and energy put into that, but also it's like, it's perfect for sending cards and making sure that, specifically slabs, and making sure that they don't get ruined in the process. So, you know, it seems like you guys are reinventing the wheel in Canada. What was going through your head during this process? Like, you know, how do we get to a point where you're like, I think that Canadians need a better way to maybe have liquidity in their cards. I think Canadians need, you know, more consistency and more quality when it comes to shipping stuff out. And, you know, how do we get there?
Yeah, I think we're really focused on, as a consignment company, the selling experience, which is the experience of dropping off a card with us or entering our consignment process, and the buying experience. I think a lot of times people think of one and not the other, and the buying experience is just as important as the selling experience, because when you have buyers that understand the consistency of your company and what you're going to get, that results in more bids and more followers and more action in your listings. So we paid particular attention to both. For a seller experience, we are, you know, making sure that we list things quickly. We do diligence on pictures and titles, and we have a lot of work to do there as well. We're still a young company, and we're investing in that opportunity. For example, we have a website portal coming out, which is going to be akin to what we see with the bigger American consignment companies, where you can log in and see an overview of all the items you've consigned with us, historical transactions. You can see your package if it's being received by us, and that's in development. It's in development for the last 4 months. It's going to be launched in a couple of months, and that's going to help, you know, consigners understand where their cards are at. You're going to be able to see the live bidding on our website of where your cards are at in auction, and you're not going to have to sift through 1,000 listings trying to look on cards. And also you'll see the titles that we have, and if we've made a mistake, you'll be able to see it a lot faster, a lot quicker, and get in touch with us a lot sooner as well. It'll help us with our payout reports. It's going to be automatic. It's going to be, you know, done by an algorithm instead of how we do it now, which is manually. So that'll be a lot quicker and faster. And we're going to have a merch store where you get points every time you consign a card with us, and that's going to, you know, engage our consigners to, you know, rack up their points to get free merch, whether that be Slab Sharks merch or partnerships that we have with our affiliates, and maybe even grading submissions to tag grading. So those are the type of things we're doing for the selling experience. And for us, the buying experience is just as important. And I think that's a little bit simpler, and a lot of companies don't do it. I think the problem is it is costly. It takes a little bit more time. Quality takes an extra day. Our shipping times might suffer by, I don't know, 8 hours, and that might be one business day. But the quality that the buyers get, I think, is extremely important, and that includes the coffin that you talk about, the card mailer that we have custom made. We have custom made sleeves coming in too, with Slab Sharks logo on it. Card savers. Our penny sleeves have tab pulls at the top with our logo on it. And we have actually a patent pending packaging being developed right now too. So we're reinvesting in that buying experience as well. So everyone gets a consistent kind of understanding of what they're getting from Slab Sharks every time they buy. And I think we are probably at like level 2 right now, and we're going to get to that level 3, level 4, level 5 of our buying experience. It's going to get there. Even with our photography right now, we use a scanner, a high quality scanner, but it's susceptible to scratches, for example, on the glass, and that affects photos sometimes.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we actually have a kind of a technology, a photography system that we're developing right now, which is actually going to result in consistent full photography photos of cards. It's not going to just be a scan. So I think that's a selling experience thing and a buying experience thing, where people are going to be able to see the cards clearer, understand that the scratches are not just on the scanner, and you're going to see, you know, a full resolution picture. So those are the things we're doing.
You talk about like level 2 and level 3 in terms of buying experience, even level 5. What does level 10 look like?
Level 10 for me is quick shipping, right? We find a process where we're shipping right away. And there's a consistent approach where a buyer knows exactly we're getting this package. You're getting a package that's a Slab Sharks package, and it's branded. Maybe you get a brochure inside the package. Maybe, you know, the graded card. Each graded card is sleeved with our Slab Sharks logo. Each raw card has a pull tab that's branded. It has a card saver that's branded. Just a whole kind of experience where you're excited to get a Slab Sharks package, and it's consistent each and every time. And that's going to be with advancement in shipping technology too. Right now, Canada Post is slow. We use FedEx, for example, for a lot of our high-end cards, just to make it a quicker experience for our buyers. So it just keep on, you know, putting the pedal down and getting better and better each time.
Let me ask you something. If you start branding your packaging, do you think that your packages will be more susceptible to like potentially getting stolen in the mail?
Yeah, it's you know, it's possible. It's something that happens. That's why you have you know, packages are more, you know, concealed. So maybe the branding is on the inner side of the packaging, like you see with other companies like PSA, where they ship packages. The PSA branding is when you open the package itself. But that's a good segue in why Slab Sharks is so important for Canadians. We actually cover those situations. So if you were a consigner and you consign cards with us, and a lot of people are weary of, you know, eBay or even just shipping cards cross country across the border, we take that kind of pain away. If a package does get lost, the buyer is refunded and the seller gets his payout. And we just make sure it's a part of our business plan, and we have the budget for it.
That's amazing. Yeah, one of the things I was gonna ask was like, you know, what is the benefit to someone consigning with Slab Sharks? Slab Sharks. Why am I having so much difficulty with this? I know what you guys are called.
It's a little bit of a tongue twister, I think.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I think the advantages really is just getting into our ecosystem, right? Getting into our ecosystem, the fact that we have a partnership with eBay, and your items are seen by more people. People understand when our auctions are. So the activity is increased, and the convenience, the time factor. It takes an average of 5 to 6 minutes to list a card. So we have people come in and dump 100 cards, 200 cards. That's 500 minutes, 1,000 minutes to list on eBay yourself. So you're saving a lot of time and effort using us. And there's that, you know, like we said before, we cover lost, damaged, refunds as well. So if someone 2 weeks down the line tries to start a refund on us, we're not coming back to the consignor and asking for the money back. We're taking care of that whole process. And also just you know, the efficiency of how we do things. You drop off a package on Tuesday, it's up on Thursday. It's really quick.
Really? That quick? 2 days?
2 days. If you drop off Tuesday, it's up that Thursday.
Wow.
And in-house, we're Canadian, so I think that's a big and important thing for me, specifically as an individual kind of growing in this space. A lot of my success, honestly, early on was knowing how to maneuver the American markets, right? Knowing how to ship over the border, how to save money coming back into Canada, how to, you know, develop relationships with American companies. And, you know, through time, I'm like, why don't we have an ecosystem in Canada where we can just sell cards or even buy cards, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy how tough it is. We have LCSs and we have eBay.ca and a lot of people listed cards, but there was no company that was doing things the way that Americans were doing it. And I just wanted to create an ecosystem that wasn't a middleman, wasn't sending it to an American company to sell for
Yeah.
you. I wanted it to be Canadian driven and build a hobby and a community in Canada where people can liquidate their cards and go for services in Canada. And that includes grading down the line. I want a grading company to be, here in Canada, grading cards. I don't want people to be shipping over the border just to sell their cards. So I think that was a primary like passion driver for me. And I know how difficult it is, especially with the extra fees that are incurred working over the border.
Oh, for sure, man. Talk to me a little bit about that, because you and I have talked about this like off the record, but I want the listeners to kind of know, where your head's at in terms of like building Canadian relationships and building up the hobby in Canada, because I think that's one of the reasons why you and I connected so well when we were talking is this is it's a big deal for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I think sometimes we forget how small the Canadian hobby is, and it's growing. It's going to a pace now where it makes sense to build a Canadian ecosystem, but it's still small. So I think a collaboration and working together and partnerships with other Canadians, it's crucial in today's kind of ecosystem and environment in Canada, that we all work together and kind of build the pie together as companies, as individuals. And prior, I'd say 2016, 2017, 2018, it was a lot smaller than it was today. So, there's a lot of people that, built a great reputation for themselves in this industry. And the next step is always moving towards America and building something in the States and partnering up in the States with companies. But for me, it's backwards. I built the American relationships prior. I want to start building in Canada. I want to start
Yeah.
having partners in Canada, collaborating in Canada. Let's make Canada a place where you can have a one-stop shop for the hobby. We don't need to ship to the U.S. And as a company, we ship for you to the U.S. But as a consigner, let's keep it in house. Let's just ship from Toronto to Vancouver, Vancouver to Toronto, and that kind of thing. So it's a passion project for me completely. And I even told you, like Coach Co, you're becoming this Canadian hobby icon, and I think you have a place to build even further in Canada and become like a even bigger icon and a homegrown talent. So you're
Yeah.
like Mitch Marner, man. That's
I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to be compared to Mitch Marner. I feel like that guy hears footsteps sometimes, man. I want,
fair.
I want, I want to see him do well, man. But Mitchy, sometimes when push comes to shove, he crumbles, man. I mean, the Leafs got to take a massive step this year.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. We need Austin to fix his ailments on his wrist or whatever is going on. It's crazy scoring 40 goals is a disappointment, but that's kind of the standard that he put upon us.
There's no way he doesn't bounce back next year. There's no way, man.
Yeah,
Like,
you're starting to see the Facebook groups looking for PSA 10 Matthews Young Guns. People are looking forward to it. I think
stuff's
they're
pretty
already
cheap comparatively, man. I mean, I think his PSA 10 was going for like $2,100 Canadian at one point. No.
3,000 at one point. So now it's down to like 975 to the $1,100 range. And the thing is, he's got his expectations are so high. He needs to score 50 goals for him to bounce back. If he scores
Yeah.
42, I don't know, right? So
Yeah, I mean, he's coming off a Hart Trophy like a season, well, 2 seasons ago. Like that's it's not easy to replicate that. I mean, it's gonna be very interesting to see. Do you find that? So you've been in this hobby for a while. How, in your opinion, how is where we're at in terms of like stability? Like you've seen crashes previously. You were a part of that. You were a focal point of the 2000 run up or the 2020 run up. Like, where are we at right now in terms of pricing, in terms of stabilization of the market? Like, I mean, a lot of people talk about this, right? Where do you think we're at?
I think overall, there's a couple of facets and like angles how to look at it, right?
Okay.
Overall, in terms of the number of people, that enjoy cards, the number of dealers that have entered the market, the number of card shops that are opening up, the services, the kind of the corporate dollars coming into the hobby. It's strong. The growth is amazing, and it's exciting. It's exciting going to the National, the Toronto Expo, or the CSC show, and you're seeing it get better and better each time. You're starting to see more money being spent to bring in bigger athletes, cosplayers at the VonCon show. So that's exciting, and you're getting a lot of people involved. So that part, extremely strong. Now there's the distribution side, where is the wax? What product is coming out? What are the margins? How much harder is it to make the same amount of money and return on investment? That side seems like it's a little tougher. Right? It feels like we're in a switch in terms of how distribution is going to change in the near future here with Fanatics coming in.
Yeah.
So that part is a little bit more speculative. And the hockey side is actually okay because Upper Deck is still around. It's probably not going to change too much.
And the margins have always been slim with Upper Deck. Do you know what I mean? Like
so everyone's used to that.
Yeah.
Canadians are actually well versed in a nice little area because not a lot is changing in Canada.
Yeah.
It's actually getting better and better.
Yeah.
So it's Canada. I like Canada a lot. I feel like there's a lot of good things coming from all these changes. But in the States, there's a lot of changes coming. And I am a little weary and cautious of how that's going to affect things. Whether that be wax just being, like back before 2018, certain products just never moved. And right now you have to almost buy certain products to get other products with the allocation system. So I'm worried about how that's going to work out when people are forced to buy weaker products and people are not spending money on every single kind of wax box that comes out. So I'm a little worried on that. On the single sides of things, you're starting to see a little bit of a consolidation in the market. We got to a point where tennis cards, Michael Jackson rookies, Disney rookies. I saw people looking for cricket stars, and F1 was a part of this too. Tennis was getting big. There was
the Rock had like that perforated the SI for kids card sell for like well over 100K. You know what I mean?
Usain Bolt PSA and Michael Phelps $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. That market has already consolidated. So the Usain Bolt card that was $40,000 in the PSA 10 just sold for $3,000. That's a massive drop. Yeah. Now, so the market got thinned out, and now it's consolidating back, which is probably good. But a lot of people lost a lot of money on the way back here, and the guys that just stuck with hockey haven't seen it because they didn't even get into those markets, so they didn't see how many people lost money during the kind of COVID comeback to reality phase.
Yeah.
So that money is now consolidating back to the big 4 or 5 sports, but the prices are still creeping down or staying stagnant. So that cash rushing back is kind of, I think, maybe keeping our perception that things are stronger than they actually are.
Yeah.
Because that consolidation is happening, but prices are not going up. They're actually still going down or staying stagnant. So I'm a little cautious and weary about that as well.
Yeah.
Where single prices are heading. But I think we're close, personally. I think, maybe 30%, 40% more to go down. But that's not everything. I think hockey is well positioned still because it's a very heavily collected genre where, a lot of the cards are under lock and key in Canada. A lot of people don't like shipping over the border, which is a reason why you don't see a lot of big cards in consignment in U.S. auction houses. You're starting to see it a little bit now. You didn't see it during the COVID peak, so it almost seems like people held on during the COVID peak, and now that prices are coming down back to reality, those big pieces are hitting auction.
Well, because they might be a little scared, right? So
the timing got missed a little bit.
I know. Well, recently, like Buffett just pulled a ton of money out of the market, right? Like, how do you feel when you see someone like that with billions of dollars in a stock market, which is, traditionally a much safer, investment vehicle, pulls $1 billion out of the market? Like, how does that make you feel about people buying sports cards with their like the disposable income?
There's two ideologies to that,
Yeah.
right? And the first one, which is the one I share, is I think the economy and the performance in the economy matters more than any player performance, any trend, any holding for a certain event like the playoffs or a Hall of Fame induction. I think what is happening in the world is the primary driver of even card prices.
Yeah.
And we've seen, strength in card prices during recessions and all of that before. And I think that is what gets pointed to when talking about the fact that cards can kind of outlast recessions in the
Yeah.
economy.
Yeah.
But we never had what we had to this last 3 years, which was a major kind of
Just like a run up.
in sports cards.
Yeah.
It's not normal having $800,000 PSA 10 Jordan cards when there's 323, 24 of them out there. So it's coming back to reality. So I share the sentiment of being cautious. I'm not buying to really as an investment. I am going after a lot of LeBron rookie autos right now, but
Yeah.
it's more of a collect invest situation
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to collect them all and see what happens. I'm a big believer in LeBron, but I'm not sure if they're gonna go up in value in the short term. We'll see what happens,
Yeah.
right?
But I mean, like, think about like, I mean, the caliber of stuff we're talking about right now, right? Like, you're talking about like LeBron James rookie autographs, right? Like, that's like, I mean, the creme de la creme. Do you know what I mean? So like, and even then, you're not even considering that like as an investment piece. Like, that's kind of like you understand that it's entirely possible that this thing comes down in the short term, and this might be something you have to hold for, and I'm sure you have no problem holding for the considerable future, right? Like, and I think that's something that not enough people take into account, when it comes to like buying and selling cards, is they I mean, the flip game is great, it's awesome, but at the same time it can be quite dangerous, especially if something like this starts happening in the economy, right?
Yeah, for me, I think my term is not even holding for a profit here. It's actually collecting on the downward trend. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to collect downwards.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, yeah,
trying
yeah, yeah.
to,
I say that all the time. I'm like,
uh,
if no one's talking about them, then I might be buying. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
even if I buy a card at say, I don't know, like 10 grand today, I'm trying to fill the whole set. I think it's going to continue going down. And that's a weird way of looking at it. So I'm just going to buy the next card as they keep going down. And
yeah,
that's a better way to find the floor, in my opinion, because
yeah,
I'm buying downwards, right? That's what I'm trying to do. And I think in terms of the cautiousness of moving in the hobby right now, the lower valued stuff and kind of that $50 to, I hate saying lower value because it's so like subjective. I'd say
yeah,
the less costly stuff,
yeah,
uh, that $50 to $2,000 stuff, right? I think the sentiment is they're so cheap right now. They can't really go down too much. The thing is, they can,
yeah,
right? They
yeah,
really can.
yeah.
But the thing that makes me
I
feel
mean, you're
like,
still spending $200 on a piece of cardboard, right? Like, and this is coming from someone who like I love sports cards. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I
I
have
love
way
sports
too
cards.
many, way too many, and I
Yeah,
keep buying more, and you can't stop me even if you tried. But at the end of the day, like you're still spending $200 on like a
yeah,
piece of
and
cardboard.
for me, there's just so much out there that's about record prices going up. It's almost like we need the balance of the other side as well, right? And I think a healthy hobby is a hobby where people aren't putting in all of their money into cards, hoping that they're going to go up in the next 6 to 12 months. Because if the entrants of the hobby and the consumer base get hurt, they're going to leave the hobby or
Yeah,
they're not have the money to
yeah,
spend on the hobby,
I
right?
would
So that,
agree.
while like record prices have short-term strength, long-term being cautious and diligent and collecting or investing within your means is, I think, the most important thing. And for me, in the next 6 to 12 months, yeah, a Lorcana box could have went from $300 to $500, but there's like 90% of other things that have gone down, right?
Yeah,
There's always picks out there.
yeah,
There's always that three
yes,
rookies in the NHL or guys that get hot that drive the idea that it's going to happen to five other players,
yeah,
right? That's what keeps the kind of gambling aspect going. But you got to look at the general market and see where that's actually going, right? So,
and that's why I think it's important to like especially during times of, I guess, economic duress. If you like lean on the collecting side of it, I feel like you can probably make some significant moves, at least with respect to, gauging whether you're cautious or not, right? Like I I have a bunch of Ronaldo rookies. I don't know, a bunch. I have a few Ronaldo rookies, and my every time someone asks me like, like what's the number for you to sell them, it's like, for me, it's like either I go or he goes, and like I always make that joke that like, I'm like, either I die and I pass this on to, like my next of kin, and then they do whatever the hell they want with him, or he dies, right? Like there's like, and I mean, maybe throughout my life that'll change, but like that's my sentiment. That's what it's going to be from now on. Like that, the money that I've put into those things, the manner in which that like I appreciate them in my collection, in my house, every time I pull them out, the way that I look at them, like that, those things aren't going anywhere. Like unless you pry them from my cold dead hands. Do you know what I mean? So, and not every card is like that, obviously, but kind of leaning on those cards, I think makes it a little bit easier to digest, going into like times of economic uncertainty. Like we talked about, someone like the Usain Bolt, $50,000 now it's down to like, or $40,000 now it's down to like 3K, right? If the guy who bought that at 40 had no intention of selling that card ever, I mean, does he really care that it's a $3,000 card anymore? Not really, right? Like he doesn't really give two shits.
depends how much.
I guess, but that means that you overreached, right? That you
Yeah.
put way too much into it. And that's also like not a great idea. And like having a budget and understanding that, maybe trying to time your buys isn't probably not ideal when it comes to times of economic uncertainty. Although, I mean, who can ever really gauge like what is economic uncertainty?
Exactly. It's completely
Yeah, yeah,
random, and
yeah,
we have all you can really do is be cautious of it and have it in the
yeah,
back of your mind.
yeah,
Dude, maybe there is no recession, and
yeah.
we go on a bounce back, we go on a full bull market, and cards go up 10x. Maybe Warren Buffett is taking out his cash and buying cards. Like maybe he believe, like we
I
have no
fucking
clue
love it.
what's going on, right? So for me, it's
Talk to me about your collecting journey, man. So like, where does it start? You said you've been setting up at the expo since 2015, going to the national since 2017. What 2017, 2015, why did you do it? Where does it come from?
yeah. My first expo was actually 2003.
There you go. I've been
Rick
corrected.
Nash. 2003 for Rick Nash. I actually pulled my first Rick Nash. It was a super short print, Young Guns. On the way to Vancouver in the plane because I was crying, and I was 10 years old, and my parents bought me a box of hockey cards because I was a big Pokemon and hockey card collector. And I pulled a Rick Nash card. I had no penny sleeves, no card savers, no top loaders. And this was the start of the trip going to Vancouver. So I like kept that like card like mint condition, like protected it like it was my life through the whole trip. Came back, the expo was like a couple of months later, and I went there to grade it. And back then there was a Beckett, I had a Beckett magazine. I actually attempted to send it to Beckett first, and there was like this little card in the Beckett magazine, and you had to fill it out. You had to do like a check mark, and you had to like put like a check with the little coupon and send
Yeah.
it in the mail. And I sent in my card, and I was so excited to get it back. And it used to be like $15 or something crazy like that. And it was in US, but I gave like a $20 Canadian bill or something like that. I asked my mom for it. She gave it to me, and I waited for my card to come back. And like months later, I got it back in the mail, and they said they couldn't grade it because they don't accept Canadian money.
What?
It was something crazy like that, and I was like so upset. And then I found we used to get like a magazine in the mail for the expo, the Toronto Expo. I got that magazine. The reason I got into cards is because my brother had a huge collection. He's a big hockey fan, so he was like into the vibes already. So I used to get that magazine mailed to me. I saw the expo was coming up in a couple of weeks. As a 10-year-old, I went there and I graded my Rick Nash Young Guns with KSA. Got a 9.5. and it was like the best thing ever. Like it was my first kind of story in the hobby, and ever since then I've loved it, and I've collected, here and there, and then I stopped for a while and then got really back into it with the McDavid Matthews era.
So not a bad time to jump back into it, bro.
Yeah, dude, it aligned perfectly for me, and I was just starting like university around that time, and just felt like, this is the time to get back into it, and I think a lot of people did too. So you could see the jump in prices during that time, 2015, 2016. I think a lot of people jumped back in.
Talk to me about when he first hit, like the Young Guns first hit the market. Like, what were those things going for?
Oh, it was crazy. I think you had a couple of sales for like $1,000.
Really?
Yeah, you had like
No, 10 years ago?
yeah, man.
What?
You had a couple of estimates at 1,000, but it settled at like $450, $500. And then it dropped really badly.
Because he got injured. Because he got injured.
Then they were like 120 bucks. And then you can pick them up during the Matthews year for like 220 to 250 for a good while. And I know Matthews out of the gate was about $110. I bought my first one on Kijiji for I think 140 or something like that, and I was just stacking them up. Marner was 35 bucks. Nylander was I think like 16, something like that. Yeah.
I mean,
So
Nylander's the only one that hasn't like absolutely taken off. It's like, because
yeah,
I think it's like a $50 now.
yeah, kind of stay the same,
Yeah.
Well, for whatever reason, right? I don't know if
Yeah.
you're being third fiddle or whatever it was.
Yeah, but he was the first one to break onto the scene too, right? Like he was playing with Phil Kessel, I think, still.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's
I think so.
That's crazy to think of. I remember he came into the league and he was wearing like number like it was something weird. I have the jersey. I think it was like 52 or 4 something.
Yeah. He
Remember
killed it. I mean, his rookie season, he was tearing it up, man. Everyone was like, "Oh, this guy's like the second coming," like this guy, next unbelievable Swedish player to play for Toronto.
Yeah, you don't see it now, but we used to have Nylander super collectors that used to buy up all the Nylander cards and had a huge PC of Nylander. And unfortunately, they're just not in the hobby anymore. I don't know if that's better or not, but there was a couple of them out there.
Talk to me about, what kind of cards were floating around back in 2015, 16? Like,
Dude, the biggest cards you can ever think of, like all the cards that are grails and you haven't like don't know anything, like you think they're like just like ghosts. Seen them all, man. I huge Austin Matthews guy, so I went in really hard on his cards early. So I've owned like 9 of his high glosses out of 10.
Really?
At the same time, I owned like 8.
What? At the same time?
Yeah, I have a picture.
Oh,
I had like 8 of his black labels when there was like 11 of them.
what the fuck?
I had his Super Factor Platinum Auto, the 101. I've seen the McDavid Super Factor 101 auto. I've seen the
Platinum was like undervalued for a long time. Like even in I think 2020, 2021, like platinum prices were still pretty cheap. Like only recently are you seeing those all-time highs.
You guess where I found the Austin Matthews rookie Platinum Superfractor PSA 10 auto? Guess.
Like country, like is that what you're asking me or what?
Well, guess like which card show?
Which card show?
Yeah, it's a big one.
The National?
The National.
Really?
Cleveland at the National.
Really?
Walking by, like I went with one of my buddies, and we were into Pokemon at that time. Pokemon and hockey cards. We're like, we're not gonna find any hockey cards here, so let's flip to Pokemon. This is a time where like fossil first edition Pokemon packs, which are probably like, I don't even know. I think a box is like 12 grand right now. The packs were $40 at the National. Stacking up on them. But we were walking around, didn't see any hockey. Steven Perreault was there. He was like the only hockey guy. I walked by. I'm like, wait, hold on. That's a Austin Matthews. That's gold. I think that's the 1/1 PSA 10. It was RBI Crew 7, which is a huge American.
Yeah.
He added.
No way, really?
And I'm like, how much is this card? And at the time, his high gloss. I was buying his high glosses for like 9K, which is still very expensive. Like,
yeah,
actually haven't done as great as other cards since then. But it was 11,000 US. PSA 10 1-1 super refractor. And I'm like, I need to get this card. Seems pretty high though at the
Yeah.
time, right? Because platinum wasn't a huge deal, as orange was like a 3,000.
Well, because and like people just didn't like hockey collectors didn't like they didn't like the bells and whistles. They didn't like they liked the paper product, right? It wasn't about shiny, like it wasn't parallels. They didn't give a shit about that.
Exactly. And I wanted to do a deal, and I had PayPal, and he's like, cash only. I'm Canadian at the time. I'm like 20, like how old am I? I'm like 23 or something like that. I didn't have, US cash. I wasn't like, bringing wads of US dollars to the national. And he's like, sorry, I can't take Canadian money. I can't take PayPal. I need cash. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm gonna lose this card. There's a couple of Toronto guys who are big in Matthews too. I'm like, if they see this card,
Yeah.
way. And luckily, I messaged him after the show, and I asked him if he still has it, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go to the currency exchange my cash. He wouldn't ship the card at that time. $11,000 was the like biggest cards you can get were like 30 to 11 grand deal.
Yeah.
So you want to ship that. Now we ship cards no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
And I got on a flight to St. Louis, my first flight by myself type situation. Went there with a wad of cash, bought the Matthews, and brought it back home. It was like the biggest deal I did at the time. It was.
How did you explain that cash going over the border?
I think his name is Ryan. I think he helped me out a bit where I could give him like 7,500.
Yeah.
And stuff like whatever the limit was.
Yeah.
He let me give the rest in PayPal, or someone else sent it to him. Something, there was a situation with that for sure.
Yeah, because I'm like, man, that would have been, especially like 23, first flight on your own, like this is like they're like, yo, what's this guy doing? Like he's going with like an empty suitcase,
Man, exactly. I went for like 2 hours. So I went crazy with that. I completed the whole platinum auto set for Matthews and Marner. So I had the Marner 101 Superfractor auto as well. So those are the type of cards you saw back then. Matt McDavid high glosses were just sitting in cases. I've seen the Exquisite Shield in person. I've seen the Foundations 101. Just the biggest.
The
cards.
Exquisite Shield that's on sale right now.
No, that's the Ultimate.
Okay, my apologies. Yeah.
It's on eBay on Probstein.
Yeah.
So I was at the expo walking around, just like going booth to booth. So yeah, huge cards.
That's crazy. What do you have left?
Right now, I am 100% all in on LeBron James rookie autos. So
really?
Yeah. So all I have left after that is but the Ovechkin high gloss Young Guns jersey number.
That's not bad. That's not a bad thing to own. That's not bad, bro.
It's the only hockey card I have right now.
Jersey number 2?
Yeah, it's a cool card. It's an amazing card. And then but LeBron, I'm trying to get. So he has 43, 44 rookie autos over the serial number of 23. So I'm trying to get all 43. That's my goal. It's a long-term goal.
How many are you at?
I'm at like 22 or something like that.
I mean, that's halfway there.
Yeah, halfway, but the ones left are like a lot of big ones. I have the RPA, which is one of the bigger ones. But there's a lot
like the Exquisite RPA?
Yeah.
Bro.
I got the RPA.
What are we talking about here?
You haven't seen it at my booth?
No, man.
At the booth, eh? But yeah, I showed it off at the Toronto Expo. But there's a couple like number pieces, emblems of endorsement. Those are huge cards, and I'm like, fingers crossed, hoping for a little bit more crash to happen, because I want to buy them on the downward.
Did you have you heard like the rumblings that LeBron's potentially not Upper Deck exclusive anymore?
Yeah, it's
How do you feel about that?
I think it'd actually be cool, man. I think it brings more and invigorates a little bit more excitement, I think, in his cards. I think if there
do you think it'll oversaturate like the auto market for him? I mean, obviously rookie autos are different. No. We're not talking about the stuff you're buying, bro. Okay, we're not talking about the stuff. We're not talking about the Exquisites. Okay, we're talking about his autos.
That's why you gotta go for the rookie autos, right? That's why it's safe, right? But I agree. If you saturate the rest of the autos, there's more. The more there are,
like Curry has like 8 million autos. Do you know what I mean? Like that's like
problem, right?
That's
He
one
has
of
a
the issues with Curry stuff. It's just there's just so many Curry autos.
Gretzky, Bobby Orr. Imagine if Gretzky only signed for 5 years. Like his cards would be insane.
Yeah,
But unfortunately, he signs for 5 years. He signs the amount of 5 years every year.
I
So,
know.
so
Every product has Gretzky autos, you know, like not actually, but like that's like a selling feature. You know,
also
that's like yeah, stature. You know, we checklist this week.
yeah.
Gretzky autos.
I think LeBron is. I think he's a businessman, and I don't think. I honestly don't think he just signed with Fanatics. I think he would just either create his own
Like
product.
free agents, you know.
And I don't think he's trying to get more of his autos out there. I don't. I believe he's a little bit more savvy than that. So I doubt he's gonna have more autos in the near future. And if he does, it's gonna be after playing days. That's my thought. So you're gonna have a little bit of a segment there with playing day autos versus non-playing day autos, which has obviously a great value to the hobby community.
It would have been interesting to see. I mean, obviously R.I.P. Kobe, but like it would have been interesting to see how he kind of transitioned in you know even the collecting space too, right? Because like he was like it's not like he wasn't playing for a considerable amount of time before COVID happened and before I mean essentially this boom, right? So it would have been interesting because like I think he probably would have been like the template for like what to do and what not to do as like someone who's widely regarded as one of the greatest of all time, especially when it comes to like modern basketball, right?
Yeah, and I think yeah, for sure. And I think he was a very, large signer. He signed a lot of cards, so he's got a lot of autographs out there. And I think a lot of people tried to collect all of his autographs and almost like quit down the way because there's so many you can't. Like there's still kind of coming out. So yeah, but yeah, Kobe was kind of a guy everyone looked up to in the hobby. During his playing days and rest in peace. He was doing a lot of great things after his career was done too. So he was going to always be in the public eye. Winning an Oscar, like that's crazy,
Yeah,
right?
I know. I know.
So, and it's gonna
I
be
mean,
interesting.
LeBron tried with Space Jam. Yeah,
I like Space Jam. I'm not gonna lie
yeah, yeah.
on one, but the I think LeBron. It's gonna be interesting to see what his post playing day career is going to be like. I think he's gonna definitely be out there. I think he's gonna be like an actor or whatever he's gonna do. He has his like production company and all that. So I think you're gonna see him pretty often.
I think one of the reasons I mean he gets so much hate, it's actually kind of crazy. It's like this weird phenomenon that like while these great players and like I'm talking like great as in some of the greatest ever are playing, they're just not respected in the manner that they probably should be. And like, it's happened to Ronaldo too, where like people are just like, oh, he's shit, you know? And I'm like, are you? We're talking about even if they're second best of all time. Like, do you understand how difficult that is over the course of however many years that the sport has been around? So, like, for you to call them shit is crazy.
Yeah.
And so I think because of that, there's this, especially when it comes to like social media, there's like this great opportunity to kind of pick up these all-time greats while they're playing. Albert Pujols happened to him before he went on that home run tour. Last season, people were
Yeah.
like, Albert Pujols is shit, like he's terrible, and I'm like, do you understand what the accolades that this guy's had? And like I was buying Albert like while people were calling him shit, and then he would essentially I was in 700 home runs he hit. You know, like I was like everyone now all of a sudden is all happy go lucky and oh Albert's the greatest and looking at highlights and stuff. So
Best first 12 years in MLB history or something like that, or close to it, right?
he had
So
like 3 MVPs. He won a World Series with the Angels, didn't he?
yeah, he did. I believe so.
I at least I think the Cardinals at least. You know, like this guy was the machine. That's literally his name. It's the nickname.
Yeah.
It's machine. I think Miggy's in that category too. To be honest, where like people they just almost forget how good Miggy was. Like the guy won a Triple Crown. I think he might have been the last player to win a Triple Crown.
Yeah, and you know what's an interesting one where it's steroid era, but Barry Bonds, man, Barry Bonds. I think it's almost accepted now that almost everyone during that era was juicing up, and you're starting to see his cards kind of tick back up after years. I think we're starting to get a little bit more progressive with.
Do you think he gets into the Hall?
I don't know. I don't think so because MLB is kind of old school that way.
Yeah.
I do think that fanfare is kind of changing a little bit. You're starting to see his big cards really sell for some great money now, and
Pete Rose is a travesty.
Yeah, that one sucks because it's like he didn't really like. I get it, like betting on. I don't think he was betting on himself. I think he was betting on. Was he betting on himself
I
or
don't think so. I don't think it's ever been
or,
confirmed.
like he wasn't like screwing around in terms of like the results of his own game that affect negatively. But now betting's everywhere. I'm sure
Everywhere,
dude,
everywhere.
all these athletes have like proxies gambling for them for sure,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's very interesting, man. So let's finish this off by showing us where we can find you. Where can, if someone wanted to consign with Slab Sharks, where can they find you? How can they contact you? Maybe they have some questions about a collection that they came across, or how can they be filtered and funneled to you and your team?
Yeah, I think our two primary modes of communication are probably Instagram. Our Instagram is Slab Sharks Inc. The ink is important because there's another Slab Sharks that sometimes people message that guy, and he messages us and directs them to us at Slab Sharks Inc. And then our website is www.slabsharks.com. On our website, you'll see exactly the process on how to consign items to us. And if you have any specific questions for us, you can either message me on Facebook, Karan Rai. You can direct message us on Instagram, or email us at support@slabsharks.com. And I handle a lot of the communication stuff, so I message back fairly quickly. So anytime there's a question, I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
I can confirm that is true. Karn,
Awesome.
I want to thank you so much for jumping on the show today and giving us a nice little history lesson.
Yeah.
Team, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Cardboard Coach. As always, please go follow our guest, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Coach Co and Karn are out of here.